Hello there. So, what we're going to do today is we're going to cover a book which I think is fascinating, and we're going to read a portion of the book, if not all of it, and we're going to analyze some of the things it says. And today's choice, we have Michael Crichton's Airframe. Now, you might say, who is Michael Crichton? He's the guy who came up with Jurassic Park, The Andromeda Strain, Timeline, and a whole lot of other movies. He's a very, very talented writer. And this book talks about the construction of an airframe. That's the body of an aircraft and the regulations and getting around them and getting things approved that shouldn't be approved. Pretty much the kind of stuff that you read about in the news about like the Boeing 737 MAX. It's going to be fascinating. You're going to love it. Get the children, get the grandchildren, get the popcorn, and let's talk airframes. No, I'm just kidding. This is too serious stuff. Let's talk about this book. You Can't Tell Me What to Do, and other stories about teenagers. This was written back in the 1970s by this lady, Diane Carlson. And she wrote it because she was part of Xerox's program to sell kids on books that they couldn't afford. So Xerox would send these vouchers to schools, and the schools would then give them to the children, and the children knew the little synopsis of each book and the price, and they would pick out the books they wanted and take them home. And mommy and daddy would say, "Well, you're not getting 10 books. You can have two books, or maybe one." And the kids would come back, order the books, and several months later, the books would be delivered. And everybody at the school was all happy to see that truck pull up and those books being delivered, which makes you wonder why it took so many months. Could it be because none had ever been published and they were just waiting to see interest? And then they would print them. Yes, that's pretty much it. Because there was no Amazon, there was no Vistaprint. And by the way, Amazon or Vistaprint, if you want to monetize this video, you just give me a call, all right? And the thing about this book, other than the part where it was offered to kids at a ripoff price and the quality is about zero, it's a library book. And somebody took out the card and didn't return it, and then they sold it on eBay. Bad kitties. So today's story is about love, the first impression. We already have a first impression, right? We got a picture of this girl. She's well dressed, and then she and some guy are backing it up. So we're going to read from this story. And as always, Grandpa is going to be doing some analysis in the story. So stay tuned for that special stuff. We're going to cover probably contract law, probably criminal law, maybe civil law, and definitely how people should not be hugging and kissing on the first date, generally. Here we go. The first impression. Cindy's father had remarried since the last time she saw him. Now she was going to meet her new stepmother. "Jane's just great," Cindy's father said on the phone. "I know you two are going to really hit it off." Well, that's a good way to introduce someone. You just tell them you're really going to hit it off is great. I love when people introduce me as, "Hey, he's a great guy. You'll love him." That's a lot better than "You'll either love him or you'll hate him." And that kind of sets up the awkward environment. It doesn't work. He sounded happy and excited. Well, he's got a brand new wife. He's going to introduce his wife to his daughter. Why wouldn't he be happy? Cindy didn't say much. Well, maybe Cindy just isn't communicative. Maybe she's autistic. Maybe she's tired. Maybe this was just not her day. We don't know, but we are. After her parents divorced, Cindy lived with her mother. Her father had moved to the other end of the state, but Cindy often visited him on weekends. They always went to unusual places and did exciting things. Well, I'm not sure what an unusual place is. I mean, I'm a guy, so I think a women's bathroom would be an unusual place to find me. I like technology and science, so I guess frolicking in the mud out in the desert would be unusual. But we don't know what Cindy likes, right? And they did exciting things. Probably, things like hang gliding or parachuting or yeah, whatever kids do these days. Cindy loved being with him. So right now we know Cindy lives with her mom. She loves being with her dad. She's probably got daddy issues, mommy issues, divorce issues, teenage issues, but we'll get to that. As the bus neared her father's town, wait, did we talk about a bus? I didn't think we talked about a bus, but that's okay. This time, however, she felt nervous and tight. How does he know we'll hit it off? She thought. Cindy tried to imagine what her new stepmother would look like. Well, we do have cameras and we can take pictures and share them. And even in 1978, there were still cameras and there was still the postal service, and people did send pictures, postcards, things like that. So she could probably have had a picture, maybe a picture of dad with the new wife. Or she's probably pretty, Cindy thought. Okay, what's wrong with that? Why should dad not marry someone pretty? And she says, my dad wouldn't marry anyone who wasn't good looking. Well, yeah, we like to think so. We like to think that the people that we're in a relationship with are people that we find attractive. And whether our idea of attractive is your idea of attractive doesn't matter. It's that we find them attractive and hence good looking. He himself was good looking, though he had gained a few extra pounds in the last few years. If his daughter is thinking that, I hope she keeps that to herself. Her father and stepmother were waiting for her when the bus pulled into the station. He was wearing the red and blue sweater Cindy had given him for his birthday 1 year. Okay. Well, let's assume for the sake of the argument that Cindy's a teenager because the book is about teenagers, right? So maybe 13, 19, somewhere in there. Let's just average it out, call it 16. And your average generation is about 20. So maybe dad was 20 years older. So he's about 36. 1 year, she gave him a sweater. Well, first of all, sweaters are not a great gift for guys. So don't do that. It's non-utilitarian. Okay, if it has no buttons, no motors, does not require power of any kind, uh, just skip. Sweaters and socks and ties and no, no. Lawnmowers, and tools, golf clubs, circular saws, cool things. And if you can't afford it, ask dad for the money. Just go, hey, I need to get you a gift, and the good ones cost money. Yeah, give it to him. It was his favorite sweater, he always said. I know where this is going. I'm gonna guess that somewhere in the story, which I have not read before, the stepmother has given him a sweater that he really likes, not the one that he was previously given. But we'll see what happens to Cindy and the stepmother. All right, Cindy, this is Jane, her father said, after giving his daughter a bear hug and grabbing her suitcase. He grabbed her suitcase. Like, I mean, let's take this. It's a USB stick, but let's pretend it's a suitcase. Stick, suitcase, sounds kind of simple. To grab it, I got it. Why would you grab her suitcase? How about you offer to carry it? You're a gentleman, she's a lady. That's what you do. You don't slam the door open in her face. You offer to hold it open. A gentleman. So not really sure what's going on there. I'm so glad to meet you, Jane said. Your father talks about you all the time. Well, hopefully not, in bed or during any other serious event. Cindy said, hi, and forced a smile. Well, why is she forcing a smile? Well, she hasn't even met this lady. The lady just introduced herself. Why not have a hi with a real smile? I mean, how difficult is that? Here, let me show you. Here is how we act when we're introduced to somebody. Hi, it's a pleasure to meet you. How are you? I have a firm handshake. My fingers do not feel like fish, and there's no clamminess about it. It is good to be here. I had a lovely bus ride. How are you doing? Here's what Cindy did. Hi. Okay, failure. Jane didn't look at all the way Cindy had pictured her. Well, a picture would have helped. So there you go. She had a deep, ugly scar from her right eye to behind her right ear. Oh my gosh, she had a scar? That's horrible. I imagine she did that on purpose. She likes having a scar. She thought it added to her features. Or maybe we're just victim blaming here because she got into an accident, got a scar. No, we don't know yet. It was a face that just missed being pretty, even without the scar. Well, no, that's just the author narrating her particular dislike of a scar. Yeah, Jane has a scar. It goes from oh, right eye all the way to her ear, and she has an ugly face. Okay. When Cindy realized she was staring, she turned quickly to look at her father. He was beaming. He'd lost some weight and he looked wonderful, happier than she'd ever seen him. It was hard to believe that this woman with a strange face, well, I don't think it's strange, she just has a scar, right? Could be the cause of it all. Well, it's probably not the cause of it all. It's probably not the face either. Probably a great sex, or maybe she's just a good conversationalist, or they do Wordle together, or they do competitive crosswords, or they watch, Fantasy Island. I don't know. Her father put one arm around Cindy and one around Jane and headed for the car. Man, you can put a hand around somebody and put your arm on people's shoulder. If you do it for two different people, generally of different heights, and then walk to the car, that could be challenging. The first thing Cindy noticed when she walked into the house was all the changes Jane had made. Well, now, wait a second. There's a begged question or an assumption there. She sees changes, but how does she know Jane made those changes? Maybe Jane suggested some of them, or maybe Dad made the changes, or maybe Dad just made the changes, or maybe the house cleaner person made changes. Do we know? No, we don't. So bad on you, City, for making it up. New furniture, wallpaper, right pillows on the sofa, plants everywhere. Well, I'm pretty sure they're not plants everywhere. I mean, it's kind of an exaggeration because we know there's no plants in the toilets. Probably no plants in the shower. Probably none in the trash can. Probably none in the recycling if they did recycling. I'm going to guess that's another exaggeration. Cindy is becoming kind of annoying at this point. A sand-colored cat came and rubbed its back against Cindy's leg. It didn't look like her father's house anymore. Okay, so Dad's not a cat person. Cindy's kind of a bitch when it comes to a cat rubbing up against her. I think she'd tone it down a little bit. If a cat comes up and says hi, say hi. If you don't like cats, say hi and walk away. You don't need to talk about how it's no longer your dad's house. His name's probably still on the title to the house somewhere. Her father took her upstairs while Jane stayed behind. Wait till you see your room, he said. Jane had changed that too. Again, the assumption that Jane was the one that made the changes. He seems awfully excited about the room. Maybe he made the changes. Maybe he did so thinking that his daughter had grown up. She probably didn't need a picture of dandelions anymore and wanted, I don't know, pictures of Brad Pitt or something adult. Who knows? There were new curtains. Oh my God, new curtains and a matching bedspread. Matching bedspread. Well, clearly it's not a guy that did that. Unless it came in a kit, because if you go to Amazon and you just have bedspread, you might just get a bedspread. But if you say bedspread and curtains, a whole kit, and every woman in the world will be so impressed. It's as if Jane had done it. And we have a picture for you. Don't get too excited. It's black and white, and pretty much is black and white. This girl's having a little tizzy. Look at her arms on her hips. She's about to be lecturing Daddy-O. So what does she say? One wall was freshly papered and another was covered with an old movie poster. It was a striking improvement, but Cindy didn't like it. Well, if it's an improvement, why doesn't she like it? If she doesn't like it, why does she think it's an improvement? It seems to me that if she doesn't like it, it's not an improvement, right? It's probably a disappointment. What did you do to my room? She whined out loud. Who said you could change it all around? She asked the guy who pays the rent, pays the mortgage, pays the insurance, pays all the bills, and flew her and bust her to get her to show up. We thought you'd like it, Cindy's father said, surprised at the outburst. Jane's in the wallpaper business, you know. No, we don't know that. And there really is no such thing as a wallpaper business. You can sell wallpaper, you can hang wallpaper, you can be a handyman. There's no wallpaper business. It's almost like saying, Jane's into moving dirt around on your front lawn with a blower business. Yeah. I don't care what she's in, Cindy said. She has no right to bust in here and change everything around. Well, pretty sure the door was open because no one talked about busting in. And obviously she's living with dad and it's dad's house. So I'm pretty sure she has the right. And he's on board with the changes. And she said that they're positive change. It was a striking improvement, is what she said. How would she complain? Now, here's where dad says a dad thing. Calm down, her father said. You don't tell people to calm down. Okay. That's a dad expression, a mom expression. It doesn't help. If you want to piss somebody off, tell them to calm down. And that's what he did. Nobody's busting in anywhere. You don't want to hurt Jane's feelings, do you? Oh, open-ended question, stupid. And leaving her with the opportunity to say, yeah, I do actually want to hurt Jane's feelings, or to go, I don't really give a shit about Jane's feelings. It's a stupid question, right? What he really meant to say is, please don't hurt Jane's feelings. Or we did this for you, and I hope that you understand that we did it for you, and you won't be trying to hurt Jane's feelings. Just leave me alone, will you? Cindy said. Well, leave me alone could be said nicer than that. Cindy could say, I think I just need a little time to myself right now. But leave me alone, will you? Starting an argument, argumentative, not necessary. Her father closed the door. The beautiful smile drained from his face. I guess that means he's leaving her alone. Cindy sat down hard on the bed. How do you sit down hard on the bed? Beds are particularly soft. That's why we call them beds. Even dog beds are soft. Sit down hard on the bed. Did she like fall over? Did she just jump backwards? Because I don't get it. She was too angry to cry. Cry is not usually the result of anger. Crying is a result of anguish, disappointment, despondence, despair, depression, but not anger. The response for anger is raising your voice, and shaking your fist, and talking about those damn kids on my lawn, or that damn cloud. I know that cloud is watching me. But apparently for her, it's sitting down hard on the bed. There was an oversized poster of a chubby movie star on the wall. A cigar hung out of the corner of his mouth. He seemed to be laughing at her. Okay, now we have a reality problem. This girl is psychotic because posters on the wall are not laughing at you. They're a poster on a wall. It's a static image of possibly a real person, possibly not. And the guy's got a cigar in his mouth, and he's chubby. Not very good expression or a description of who this guy is. I mean, I guess it could be Elvis. It could be anybody. I mean, it could be me with a cigar, being a little chubby, on a movie poster. But I wouldn't be laughing at Cindy. I might be commiserating that poor Cindy is going through all this. An hour or so later, Jane came up and knocked on Cindy's door. When Cindy didn't answer, Jane opened the door a crack. May I come in? She asked. Well, Jane seems to be polite. She knocked on the door. She didn't just open it because she's doing the guy who owns the house. And then when she didn't get an answer, she didn't run away. And she didn't open it all the way to just barge in. She opened it a crack and she asked if she may come in. Very polite. Cindy glared at her, but Jane came in anyway. Well, Cindy didn't say no. Glaring at someone is not no. Glaring at someone is not no. You may not come in. So Jane came in. Sat down on the corner of the bed. Well, Jane at least knows how to sit on the corner of the bed. Cindy just sits down hard, whatever that means. Your dad says you're upset about the room, Jane said. I'm sorry. I guess I got carried away. I didn't even stop to think if you'd want it changed. We can change it back if you like. Pretty reasonable, right? When Cindy didn't answer, Jane went on. Listen, Cindy, I know this whole thing is hard for you. I'd like to be friends, but I don't want to push things. Whenever you're ready. Her voice trailed off. She got up and walked to the door. We'll be ready to eat in a few minutes. I hope you like pizza. Dad had put her up to that, Cindy thought. Sure, anybody can put somebody up to giving me pizza any time, day or night. Why is that a problem? It's like I have my favorite foods. If I come to visit you in your house and you tell me that we're eating in a few minutes and you're gonna have my favorite food, I don't care who put you up to it. I'm looking forward to that favorite food. He knows pizza's my favorite food. Why does she have to pretend she doesn't know? She didn't pretend she doesn't know. She said, we made pizza. We hope you like it. Obviously, she tried her best with the room, and Cindy didn't like it, even though she thought it was an improvement. So now she's trying her best with the dinner, but she kind of knows that Cindy's probably going to say, no, I hate pizza. Pizza's yucky, even though it's her favorite. Cindy didn't say a word through dinner. Her dad and Jane made small talk, but even that petered out after a while. They all finished the meal in awkward silence. When her father asked Cindy if she felt like going to the movies, she shook her head no. No. I'll punish you, Dad and Jane. I'm not going to see a movie unless Brad Pitt's in it. But never mind. They watch TV for a while. So she won't go see a movie, but she will sit with her and watch TV. Okay. But Cindy's father said he had a headache and went to bed. Jane was still up doing some things in the kitchen. That's called cleaning. Cleaning, Cindy. One day, you might want to ask if you can help clean because they just gave you a place to stay, picked you up at the bus stop, and gave you a pizza dinner, and they redid your room. Least you could do is say, hey, let me help with the dishes. You think? You follow where I'm going with that? All right. Cindy kept staring at the TV without even knowing what was on. That's typically a sign that it's time to go to bed. Around 11:30, that'd be 23:30 for the rest of us. Bill, Cindy's boyfriend from back home, called. Okay, so Dad's house is not back home. Back home is where Mom lives. Bill's the boyfriend, and he's calling 23:30 at Dad's house. Dad's already gone to sleep with a headache. I'm kind of thinking he could have texted first. Yeah, didn't have that in 1978 either. Cindy grabbed the phone from Jane. Nothing about why Jane had the phone. I mean, if the phone's ringing, but anyway, let's face it, the phone ringing, people who live there answer the phone, and there's no caller ID in 1978, so there's no way of knowing who it is. Heck, they don't even have voicemail, let alone voicemail to email, let alone email. Email was around, but not for Cindy or Jane or Bill. And stretched the cord into the bathroom so she could close the door. Bill, she whispered into the phone, I'm going crazy here. You can't believe the witch my dad married. Well, you've been there for like an hour and 10 minutes and already you're going crazy. And you have a problem with a poster that's like shaming you, but it's just a poster. You got some problems, Cindy. Louder, Cindy, I can't hear you, Bill said. Cindy could feel he had been drinking again. Oh, so maybe he's a little older because even in 1978, the average drinking age in the United States was 21. So given that this is, stories about teenagers, Bill's probably not supposed to be drinking. I don't want her to hear me, she said, raising her voice a lot. Well, let's try there. I don't want her to hear me, she said, raising her voice a lot. What's that? What's that noise in the background? Where are you anyway? At Jimmy's, he said. She heard a girl's giggle next to the phone. Who else is there? The jealous Cindy asked, her voice turning sharp, her jealousy rising like a woman about to be scorned, who just had a room really made up really nice and got her favorite food to eat and got picked up at the bus station by her dad that she loves very much. Got called by a boyfriend who's obviously going around. He fooled around with other girls every now and then. She tried to change Bill, and when that failed, she tried to change herself. She hoped that somehow she could get him to stop drinking and fooling around. She never seriously considered dropping him. I don't know, Cindy says. I don't know why. I guess I'm afraid I won't find another boyfriend. Well, you won't, Cindy. That's because you're worthless and you're crazy and you treat people like they owe you something. You really need to get some counseling. Sometimes it's better to be alone, Jane said. All of a sudden, Jane, who Cindy hates for no good reason, is her counselor. Okay. They sat down at the kitchen table and Cindy began to talk mostly about Bill and what was happening between them. It felt good to get it all out. And Jane was a good listener. So she's gone from this woman who screwed up my room to how dare she offer me my favorite food, but pretend she doesn't know it's my favorite food, to I will confide in her. She is my confessor, to a great listener. Well, that's not bad. 2 hours into a wonderful weekend. At last, Jane and Cindy were too tired to keep their eyes open. See you in the morning, Cindy said. Not too early, Jane laughed. I can't take these late nights like I used to. Well, that's what happens when you turn 33. Jane, Cindy said, the late hour giving her more nerve than she normally had. How did you get that scar on your face? Oh my God. Cindy, how did you get to be so psycho and so stupid about how to bring things up? Couldn't you wait till morning and ask it more politely or ask Dad? An accident, James said. It happened a long time ago. I was afraid to tell this guy I was dating that he was too drunk to drive me home. I went through the windshield. No seatbelts? Oh, yeah, that wasn't a law until 1973. The book was published in 78. Assuming the story was written somewhere in between, seatbelts were a requirement, at least in these United States. I went through the windshield. He walked away without a scratch. I never saw him again. Okay. Jane paused for a minute as though remembering something from that past that she seldom thought of anymore. It took me a long time to face a mirror, even after all the operations. It took even longer to face other people until I realized that the only time the scar really mattered was with first impressions. First impressions aren't always right, Cindy said. Jane, I just want to say, go to bed, Jane said gently. Tomorrow's another day. With that, we have nothing left but the morals of the story from a library book never returned. So the story, which was about they can't tell me what to do, or other stories about teenagers. The moral of the story here is when you're a thankless brat, stay with your mom. Don't go visiting dad. It just doesn't work out. Or go bowling. It's been a pleasure. Have a great evening.